together through the years, together in the future. MPB, your stories, our mission.
You don't want to miss the next Mississippi Antique Showcase coming to Oxford, Mississippi, May 2nd and 3rd.
For a $100 donation, you can get a showcase ticket, complimentary food, cocktails, and an on-site appraisal, or a chance to be on the show. Or for $60, you can just come and be part of the party. Call 1-844-874-6874, visit mpbonline.org, or scan the QR code on your screen.
We can't wait to see you in Oxford for the next Mississippi Antique Showcase.
What's happening, Mississippi? You have found the Sit Down with Russ Latino right here on MPB Think Radio, where we explore the ideas and the people that are shaping Mississippi's future. Last night, big elections across Jackson, across the state of Mississippi. There were 28 runoff elections and municipal races, none more important than the runoff election in the Democratic primary for mayor. Not since Hannibal beat the Romans in 216 BC at the Battle of Cannae have we seen such a lopsided victory. John Horhn won last night decisively, 75% of the vote to 25% of the vote for outgoing mayor and incumbent Chokwe Antar Lumumba. We will have a exclusive conversation with Senator John Horhn at 10:30, so definitely stick around for that. It will be interesting to hear his take on the election, what he has planned moving forward, and obviously there's a general election on June 3rd, but if his history has any meaning at all, the winner of the Democratic primary almost certainly is going to be the next mayor of Jackson, and that is John Horhn. We are, however, in the first segment, going to talk about something equally important, because ultimately communities are not just built by politicians. Communities are built by people, helping people. Nobody does that better than Shower Power. We're talking Volunteer Appreciation Week right here at MPB. We are joined by Shower Power founder Teresa Rekenberger. Am I saying that correctly? And Jason Anding.
Anding, nailed it.
So, and I'm oftentimes not good with names, especially when I've been up since 2 a.m. Working on election coverage. So there's that. Thank y'all for being in today, and thank y'all for what y'all doing.
Thank you.
So talk a little bit for folks across the state that may not be familiar with Shower Power. What is and I'll call it a ministry. Mm-hmm. What is the ministry?
The ministry is an outreach for people who are unhoused and underprivileged. We have some people that live inside. They just don't have electricity, or they may just be able to pay their light bill, but that's it. And we offer services to them as well.
And Teresa, I know that you've been doing this for a long time. Mm-hmm. Give some insight into how you got started serving the homeless population in Jackson. What was the genesis of this?
Well, I've had a heart for the underprivileged people. I say I was born with it. Literally, I feel like because I've rescued dogs my whole life, and I've always had a heart for somebody that can't do for themselves. And it was about 7 years ago, me and my kids went out one really cold morning and handed out warm stuff. And the first man we saw, his name was Benny. We saw him for 3 seconds, and about 6 months later, I ended up seeing Benny again in the same spot. And did you ask me to explain how this got started?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I might be going around.
No, you're doing great.
Well, about 6 months later, after I met Benny for like 3 seconds, I'm riding down Lakeland Drive, and I look over at a red light, and Benny is sitting on an upside-down bucket right where I met him. And I pulled in, and I was like, "Do you remember me?" And he did. So anyway, we started a little conversation. I went and got him something to eat. I got me something. I sat on the ground. He sat on the bucket, and we talked. He was so nice, and I just made it a habit. I kept seeing him on Lakeland Drive, so I made it a habit. And through about a year worth of our gaining a friendship, one day I asked him where he got clean, and when he told me in the sink at the Totem store, my heart, I don't even remember anything else that he said. That's how Shower Power came to my mind. I thought, if somebody can put a shower in a camper, somebody can put a shower in a box truck. So on my little 10-minute drive home, I literally created it in my little head and got on Craigslist, found the truck, looked at it the next day, bought it the next day, and had no idea what was coming next. That is how it got started.
So it literally, you had a meeting with a gentleman twice.
Yep. Oh, no. We were friends for a year before this came about.
Okay.
Yes. I tried to get Benny in hotel rooms. You think, where do they eat? Where do they sleep? It
Right.
doesn't hit people. Where do they shower? A lot of things came to me over that year about what it's really like to live outside. After sitting and meeting with Benny, I'd go by like every 2 weeks, maybe every 3 weeks, not stay long, give him something to eat. I'd eat with him. I'd sit on the ground. He'd sit on the bucket, and we would just talk. And when I found out that he showered in the sink, it broke my heart that my little friend that I had made that was cared for by the store, because they were very good to him, he slept in a bathroom and was happy with that. The way he described his shower, anyway, and then Benny wouldn't get in the shower. I call Benny the angel, because he's the one that he pointed to downtown Jackson and said, I don't want to get in. Although he was excited in the beginning,
Sure.
I don't want to get in. And he pointed to downtown Jackson and said, there's more people that need this than me.
So you went out and bought a box truck.
Yes.
Did you retrofit it yourself, or did you have
No.
somebody build the showers inside the truck?
I had somebody build them, and I'm doing the super short version because I don't want to take up all of our time. But, and we know this, but we tell people God has had his hand on this ministry from birth. I say he's had his hand on me from birth. But I called about, I think, 14 or 15 box trucks, and everybody said, what are you going to use it for? Which is an odd question to ask.
You would think, hey, she's willing to pay. I will sell
Seriously,
you this truck.
Yes,
Yeah.
everybody asked. And the last person I called, and everybody, when I would tell them, they would sit. It was weird. I hung up on. I was just like, this is odd. The last person I called, his name is Kevin Poe. He was so interested. He was like, what? Oh my gosh. He was the biggest and the most expensive truck. I didn't need it. I needed a little, I call it a spritzer. It's
Yeah.
a Sprinter. It's a Mercedes. I wanted one of those little bitty vans. But instead, I bought this humongous box truck.
And how many showers do you have in?
We have 2.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the ministry provides showers every Friday in Jackson?
Every
or?
single Friday in Jackson. Mm-hmm.
Okay, where are you located normally?
We're at 836 South Commerce Street. If you go down North State Street to the railroad tracks, we are literally, if you look to the left, you'll see us.
And at this point, you've been doing this for 7 years?
We've been doing it for 5.
For 5 years,
It
okay.
took the truck about a year to get built.
Okay.
And yeah.
And how many people have you guys served?
Jason, how many people have we served?
We serve about 125 every Friday, so
Okay, wow.
I can't do the math that well.
It's
but
been a lot. I think we've given over 5,000 showers or maybe more.
And did it take time to build that, or was it almost an instantaneous thing, word of mouth?
It was not. No, it took
Okay.
a minute. Our first day, we had to go searching for people.
Because I do think when most people think of how to help underprivileged or how to help the homeless population, they naturally gravitate towards food and housing, which are obvious. You know, those things are definitely necessities of life. I think a lot of people don't naturally think about the hygiene aspect
No.
of that lifestyle and that life. Jason, how did you get involved?
So I got involved. I did student ministry for a long time, and some of my adult volunteers were friends of Teresa's and were already plugged in with Shower Power and volunteer, and they said, hey, you got to come check this ministry out that we're involved in. And so during COVID, when there wasn't much going on for anybody, Shower Power was actually going on. And so that's when I got involved and went the first time and loved it, and a couple of weeks later ended up coming back and hadn't stopped. So
Very cool.
long story short.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, if you said that you've been operational for 5 years, so that puts you really kind of starting in the middle of COVID, doesn't it?
Yeah, sort of. And everybody shut down in COVID, and we actually added a day because we're only on Fridays, but we added an extra day because there was nowhere for them to eat. There was nothing. From what we understood, everything was shut down. And so, yeah, we started doing it Tuesdays and Fridays.
And I guess as you're doing that, are you adding new services, or have you just stayed focused on, hey, our ministry is providing showers?
Lord have mercy, have we added. I can let him tell about that, but we started with just showers. Not even, like the first day, one of our volunteers, her name is Debbie Scarberry, she went out looking for people and came back with 3 people. Well, they took 45-minute showers. We just let them. I was sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, they're and they got out. Well, they were hungry. I was like, "Wait, we don't have food," and so everything started hitting us. And I'm gonna let him tell you where we are today.
Sure. So a lot of what we do, the showers are kind of secondary to what we do now. Mm-hmm. A big part of it is we call it a street party. We meet on kind of the parking lot area of our building on Commerce Street, and we've got music going. One of our friends, homeless friends, is our DJ every Friday, mm-hmm. and plays our tunes. But a big part of what we're doing is giving out clothes and giving out sleeping bags. We have a guy named Mr. Paul, who was one of our volunteers. He started coming and he would hold a sign that would ask if people needed prayer. And out of him doing that, he's a CPA. He may be retired now, but he had a heart for helping people get state IDs and driver's licenses and birth certificates. And so because you can't, when you're homeless, if you don't have your ID, or anybody, if you don't have your ID, you can't much do anything. And so certainly can't get a job. And so he had this heart for helping people get those things. And he and another guy now that's every single Friday, that's all they do. They show up 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning and work until about 11:30 or 12, and one person after the next. They have a constant line of helping people get their state ID. So that's a big part of what we do. We also last fall started a church service on Sunday afternoons at 2 o'clock. We had a pastor that got involved with this from Trinity Wesleyan in Byram, Pastor Tim Burnett, and he had a heart for wanting to start a worship service for the homeless. And so we've started doing that. We started out doing it once a month, and now we're doing it every week. Mm-hmm. And serving a meal after that as well. And so
y'all have a lot going on right now. Can you hang around for another segment after the break?
Yeah, we'd love to.
Excellent. Now, we got to take a quick break. You're listening to The Sit Down with Russ Latino. We're talking with Teresa and Jason today from Shower Power. At 10:30, we'll be talking with State Senator John Horhn after his big election night victory. We'll be right back.
You don't want to miss the next Mississippi Antique Showcase coming to Oxford, Mississippi, May 2nd and 3rd.
For a $100 donation, you can get a showcase ticket, complimentary food, cocktails, and an on-site appraisal, or a chance to be on the show. Or for $60, you can just come and be part of the party. Call 1-844-874-6874, visit mpbonline.org, or scan the QR code on your screen.
We can't wait to see you in Oxford for the next Mississippi Antique Showcase.
Both seasons of the 10-Minute Timeout are now available on a variety of podcasting apps. The mini podcast can be binged in a day and is perfect for those that just want a quick listen. Join me, Lacey Alexander, as I sit down with special guests, revisit major moments, and give a platform to the athletes and sports that shape Mississippi. Head over to mpbonline.org to give it a try.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow, thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
Listening to Sit Down on NPB Think Radio. I'm your host, Russell Latino. Today we're talking about volunteering with Shower Power founder Teresa Rekenberger and Jason Anding from Shower Power as well. We were talking about before the break kind of how you got started, the nature of the ministry, how it's expanded to a lot of different things. You know, you're having church services, you're helping people get IDs, you're feeding people, right? So it's become sort of an all-inclusive ministry in a lot of ways. As we talk about Volunteer Week, I think it's important to recognize that you guys don't get paid, right?
Correct.
You are running this ministry as volunteers.
Right, that's right.
Okay. And so I'm curious, as you've been going at this for 5 years, you've served over 5,000 people. Are there stories that jump out where you go, hey, look, I know we didn't do this by ourselves, right? I know God's hand was on
100%.
this. But, man, it's really cool that this guy has been able to get it. It's clicked, right?
Right.
And we can see that we had a part to play in that. Are there stories like that jump out to you guys?
Yes.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
There are several. I was going to say something about another guy, but when you said that, it made me think about another guy. So I'm going to tell his story. I won't use his name, but he had been coming for quite some time to us. We call it planting seeds in people. The seed may never grow, and that's okay. We love people right where they are. If they, have an addiction and they can't push it, it's a stronghold. Thank God, I don't know what that feels like, but I have a heart for people that do. And we love them where they are, and we've loved this guy where he is. And he has been in some low places. He was addicted to heroin intravenously. He lived in the woods. He lived behind dumpsters. I mean, we would go see him. And we planted seeds for 4 years, I guess, or 3 years. And Tim, the pastor, started coming to Shower Power, and he had an interest in this guy. And he brought the miracle grow, is what I say. It's unbelievable where the guy was to where the guy is. Tim poured into him like I've never seen somebody pour into somebody. He pulled him out. He went into rehab. He went to sober living. He started going to Celebrate Recovery. He would go to meetings. He now helps at the church that Tim, at Trinity in Byram. I think the guy could be a preacher. It's unbelievable, his story and where he came from to where he is today. And he has been sober now for over a year. Mm-hmm. There are several. The other guy, I'll say it real quick. His name is Primetime. Primetime didn't have an addiction. He just fell out on his luck, and he lived in his truck. And Primetime is our only paid employee. He does get paid. But he lived in his truck for a very, very long time, could not find employment, and he tried. And I'm a witness of that. I would get his emails. He would give my email. He would go for the interview and then get the email. You didn't get the job. Yeah. So we ended up hiring Primetime, and he has lived inside now for almost 5 years, and he works very hard. He's very dependable, and they're like our family. And so we've got so many. We have a little program called Project Hope. It's where we get people off the street into housing, and it almost sounds mean, like you got to teach them how to live again because they don't know. But we've had 23 success stories of people who have come off the street into housing, and they're on their own now, doing great. Mm-hmm. We've had some fails, And that's okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not going to have a perfect success rate. And I mean, at some level, we've talked about this being a ministry. You act in obedience.
Absolutely.
And then you bear fruit when God is ready for the fruit to be born,
that
right?
Is correct.
And so that makes a lot of sense to me. And I think a lot of people don't realize this. It's like the homeless population is varied, right? And you know this working. Like there are people who choose that lifestyle, who legitimately enjoy that lifestyle. But there's an awful lot of addiction. There's an awful lot of mental health problems just across the board. And so you're dealing with people who have been marginalized, and you're not going to have a perfect success rate, right?
No.
I think something you said earlier was so important. Is like I worked for years in reentry with people who were getting out of prison, and people take for granted the most basic things, right? Even if you don't live palatially, in Mississippi, you have a place to get up and brush your teeth. You have a place to shower. Mm-hmm. You have a license in your wallet that allows you to go and apply for a job. And those are things that people just take for granted as being easy to come by and easy to do. It's almost like breathing. But for a certain population of people getting out of prison or people who have been, plagued by addiction, whatever it may be, those things are really hard, right? And they're barriers to entry to even starting to find success.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about how to get involved with what you guys are doing. We're talking about volunteerism, right? So are there ways for people who want to come out and help?
Yeah, absolutely. There is, you can check us out on our website, showerpower.ms. And our contact information is on there. And also absolutely follow us on Facebook at Shower Power MS as well on Facebook. And those are the two best places to contact us if you want to come volunteer. If you have a larger group of like more than 10 or 15, you definitely need to know you're coming. But if it's just one or two people, I think it's okay to show up on a Friday and come see what we do.
And are there ways if somebody can't necessarily volunteer their time, but maybe want to volunteer their resources?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a place to give online on our website, again, showerpower.ms. And you can always drop us a check by at 836 South Commerce in Jackson.
And then if somebody wanted to email or call you guys?
Yeah, those contacts are on our website. And another great thing is for, we always are in need of like men's jeans and men's pants and men's underwear and things like that. So churches, we love to have churches get involved and do clothing drives and things of that nature to help us out as well. So if you can't actually physically come to us, you could still be a part of our ministry by doing a clothing drive and collecting resources that we need.
Well, thank you guys for coming in. Thank y'all for what you do. We need more people in the boat rowing, right? And you guys are serving an important function. But hopefully, as we have a conversation about moving Jackson forward, we can have a conversation about what does that look like for the community, too. So really appreciate y'all coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity, Russ.
We're going to take a brief break. We'll be back with Senator John Horhn, fresh off a win last night in the Democratic primary for the mayor of Jackson. We'll be right back.
The Measuring Show.
Since 1970, MPB has been enriching the lives of Mississippians.
Everything we do gives us the chance to grow and learn.
With your support, we are always there whenever and wherever you need us. Together through the years, together in the future. Please consider making a donation at mpbfoundation.org. MPB, your stories, our mission.
You don't want to miss the next Mississippi Antique Showcase coming to Oxford, Mississippi, May 2nd and 3rd.
For a $100 donation, you can get a showcase ticket, complimentary food, cocktails, and an on-site appraisal, or a chance to be on the show. Or for $60, you can just come and be part of the party. Call 1-844-874-6874, visit mpbonline.org, or scan the QR code on your screen.
We can't wait to see you in Oxford for the next Mississippi Antique Showcase.
Together through the years, together in the future. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Welcome back to the Sit Down with Russ Latino right here on MPB Think Radio. We are joined now by State Senator John Horhn, not just a state senator, but obviously the victor in last night's Democratic runoff for mayor of the city of Jackson. I've said multiple times on this program and elsewhere that Mississippi needs a strong and thriving capital city, and the capital city needs Mississippians, both inside of Jackson and outside of Jackson, who are committed to a strong and thriving capital city. Senator Horhn, has it sunk in yet from last night?
Well, not quite, but we're getting there.
So as you watched the election results roll in a few weeks ago and then again last night, what was your reaction? How did you feel about it?
Well, we felt a lot of vindication, I would say that. First of all, we came under attack quite a bit during the race by our opposition. In fact, there were 12 candidates in the race who were on the ballot in the primary as Democrats, and it seemed as if all 12 of them all 11 of them were ganging up on me every time we had a forum and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is the people wanted change, and in that primary, 83% of folks said they wanted something different from what they already had, because the incumbent only got 17% of that vote, and we got about 49 out of the 12, 49% out of the 12 candidates. So we felt that we had the mandate going forward.
Yeah, I joked on primary night that probably nobody in the city of Jackson was angrier about how easy it is to run for mayor
right.
than State Senator John Horhn, with that crowd of a field to still come so close to just winning outright. Talk about what the last 3 weeks have been like.
Well, we just stuck to our game plan. We had a strong ground game with a lot of door-to-door canvassing. We feel like we had a really good social media presence. Our radio and TV was effective. And so we just continued to do that sort of thing. We also found that it was a little easier to do fundraising once we got past the primary. And we also had a lot of the religious community to come out on our behalf, as well as some prominent politicians and statesmen, including Congressman Benny Thompson, Transportation Commissioner for the Central District Willie Simmons, former U.S. Department of Agriculture Mike Espy, former Secretary, and a number of others. We had several of our legislative colleagues. I can hardly talk this morning, I'm so tired. A lot of our legislative colleagues came out. Members of the Board of Supervisors for Hinds County came out. And that seemed to give us a lot of momentum. And we could feel the momentum going forward over the weekend leading to this Tuesday election.
Yeah, I can hear in your voice that you probably have been talking a good bit to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Between springtime, I always have an issue with pollen. But, running my mouth so much, it put a real strain on my voice.
No, I understand that. It was – I will tell you, I don't live in Jackson. I have lived in Jackson. My wife and I lived there for a number of years. But I've always felt, and I said this at the outset, I've always felt like we need a strong Jackson, and that city is capable of so much. There's real opportunity in Jackson. And I'll just say that watching the election results for me last night, what was pretty clear was that citywide there was a demand for change. Right. And so I know some of your opponents, tried to say, okay, well, Northeast Jackson is supporting Senator John Horhn, and that's sort of a euphemism for white Republicans, right? But then you look at it and you're like, yeah, there were some white Republicans supporting John Horhn, but there was also, as you said, Benny Thompson and Mike Espy and Willie Simmons and huge swaths across every ward in Jackson, all with the same viewpoint, which is, hey, we need positive leadership, we need change, we need a stable hand. And I think you were able to capitalize on that based on what I saw.
Right. You can't fight for fighting's sake. You have to fight at some point. Fighting isn't enough. You got to figure out how to win. And for us, winning is being able to get resources into our city. We've got a declining population. We have a declining tax base as a result of that and other things, a lot of out-migration of businesses. And so you've got to be able to attach the resources to your needs. The county, for example, had an interlocal agreement that they wanted the city to sign that would allow them to come in and do more street paving and bridge rebuilding and that sort of thing. That for whatever reasons, the incumbent would not sign that interlocal agreement. We of course know that how things are strained between the incumbent and the state, from the governor on down. And so being able to turn that around, I think, is significant. And then there's also the federal government. The fact is that we got $800 million to help with our water, wastewater issues. And the federal government did not think it was wise or prudent to put that money in the hands of our local government. So we've got the interim third-party manager. And our goal is to try to heal those relationships and restore trust and accountability.
Yeah, obviously you had run for mayor multiple times.
I'm like the little engine that could.
There's something to be said for persistence, right? And there's also something to be said for timing in politics.
Yes.
I think when I would look at Jackson in recent years, and look, this isn't solely attributable to Mayor Lumumba, right? There are problems that have persisted for a long time, and they're not going to be easy to fix either, right? But when you think about the core functions of a municipal government, it's things like, can we pave our streets? Can we keep our streets safe with police? Can we create an environment where businesses want to build and grow here? Can we deliver clean water, pick up the trash, those sorts of things? And across the board, it felt like we weren't checking those boxes for the last several years. When you look at the current state of Jackson, what are the problems that you immediately are drawn to and say, hey, we've got to come up with solutions for these things?
Well, Russ, you're singing from my playbook. In addition to the restoration of trust and accountability, and that trust and accountability has got to first start with our taxpayers, the people who pay the salaries of city workers and employees. And once we get their trust and we establish that we're more accountable to them, then we can move on to the county, the state, and the feds. But the second plank in our program is basic services, the assurance that we can deliver basic services, like those things that you just mentioned. And then the third thing is we have to have a plan of action that makes sense, that you can articulate, the average person can articulate. And we feel like there's a strong need for a comprehensive plan. And so we've been working with a group called the Reinvestment Fund that's out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And over the last 40 years, they've put $1.5 billion worth of economic impact into affordable housing, commercial and retail development in marginalized communities in New York, in Baltimore, and also in Philadelphia. They're interested in coming into Jackson, and we're right now trying to put together some funding to have them do a market value analysis. And that's going to help us be one of the first steps in putting together a comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I think at some level it makes sense that you're in a stage over the next several months where you can start to think about what are the city's strengths that can be played upon, what are the weaknesses that obviously have to be addressed. And some of that is certainly relying on experts, right, and getting an understanding from experts of where they see that value.
Yeah, but it's got to also involve average, everyday folks.
Correct.
And we've got to have a plan that is developed and that can be applied to every ward in the city.
Yeah, because the danger if you're just relying on outside consultants is they don't know the city the way the people who live in the city do. They don't know the needs the way that the people who live in the city know the needs. I think it's probably a mix of those two things. I'm curious. We talked about timing and your persistence. Obviously, there's this elephant in the room with the federal indictments that are hanging over the current mayor's head and also other Jackson City officials. And you've alluded to this by talking about trust and the importance of trust. How big of a role do you think that played in your conversations with voters?
It played a role, no doubt about it. But from some polling and research that we had done prior to these indictments ever surfacing, we knew that he was in trouble. In 2023, a poll was done that showed us that we maybe had a path forward to get to the mayor's race and a win for the mayor's office. And then in the fall, right near Thanksgiving of 23, we had some focus groups that were conducted. And it wasn't the folks who were very much against him, nor the folks who were very much for him. It was the people that were in the middle that we invited for these focus groups. And so divided the room up into male and female. 82% of the females said not no, but hell to the no.
Yeah.
And so they were traditionally women have greatly favored this guy, and they were ready to talk chapter and verse on why they weren't going to support him anymore. And the men were at 83% saying he had to go, and that they didn't want him to be thrown under the bus, see another black man thrown under the bus and fed to the wolves and that sort of thing. But 82% female, 83% male. So so what we realized is that he has a solid base of between 15 and 18%. And every step along the way where we did polling and research, that 14 to 18% would pop up. And so he in the primary got 17%, which fits right in line with that. Now he did pick up some leeway on yesterday because he got an extra 8 points from what he had in the primary. But we knew that there was something in the air, regardless of any indictments. The fact that he was allowing the city to be run into the ground, the crime was running rampant, and we saw a lot of disinvestment and population loss. So even without those indictments, we knew that he was in trouble.
How obviously you've had a situation now with the indictments where there's national attention on Jackson. A few years ago, there was national attention on Jackson because of the water crisis.
And then there was a garbage issue.
And then the garbage issue, right? And all of those things sort of add up. But I guess the problem for you, or the challenge for you, is that there's been a crisis of confidence created around Jackson and Jackson leadership. And you know this as well as anybody serving in the legislature. You've got a lot of colleagues who, to the extent they want to help Jackson, have to go back to their voters in different parts of the state and say, here's why we're going to do this to help the city of Jackson.
Right.
And they've got to believe that the resources, if it's resources or policy changes, ultimately are going to be executed upon by leadership in a way that they can have confidence in, right?
Absolutely.
So how do you – I think your first step, and this is Russ talking, is restoring confidence.
Exactly.
What does that look like?
Well, it is going to have to start, again, with our taxpayers, giving them the sense that we're on the right track and we have good leadership. And it starts with putting a good team of people together. folks who know their jobs, who know what they're doing, have great expertise, and are problem solvers. I think the team that we put together is going to be critical to restoring that trust and accountability. We got to improve our customer service. When taxpayers call in and needing something from the city, there should be somebody who answers the phone, first of all. Your phone shouldn't just ring and ring and ring, and you shouldn't be transferred all over the place and still not get your question answered. The process by which we conduct business, do permitting for projects and construction and that sort of thing has got to be a lot smoother. But as far as the rest of the state's concerned, I think that a lot of going and visiting one-on-one, eyeballing folks, and letting them know that we're serious about bringing change in Jackson is going to be critical. But I'll say this, that when I got into this race, a lot of my colleagues became optimistic about Jackson. And even the colleagues, supporters, average everyday folks, the most used word when they would talk about our campaign is excited. I'm excited for Jackson. I'm excited for you, John. I'm excited for what you're going to be able to do for Jackson. And that excitement has become contagious. I was saying the other day that there's something in the air right now, and it's going to change. But my colleagues in the legislature, from the Speaker and the Appropriations Chair, the Ways and Means Chair, the Lieutenant Governor, Appropriations and Finance Chairs, they're all saying, John, if you get in, we're going to turn the purse strings loose because we don't trust this guy, but we trust you.
Yes. Can you hang around for another quick segment after the break?
Sure.
We're talking with State Senator John Horhn. I want to talk a little bit more about what the first 60 days, 90 days, 6 months looks like for you. You're listening to The Sit Down with Russ Latino. We'll be right back.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
Hello, I'm Desiree Frazier, host of the award-winning news program, Mississippi Edition. We bring you conversations about the latest news from across the Magnolia State. Whether it's politics, healthcare, or education, you'll hear in-depth discussions on issues that matter to you. So join us each weekday morning at 8:30 on MPB Think Radio, or download the podcast, listen through the app, and online.
You don't want to miss the next Mississippi Antique Showcase coming to Oxford, Mississippi, May 2nd and 3rd.
For a $100 donation, you can get a showcase ticket, complimentary food, cocktails, and an on-site appraisal, or a chance to be on the show. Or for $60, you can just come and be part of the party. Call 1-844-874-6874, visit mpbonline.org, or scan the QR code on your screen.
We can't wait to see you in Oxford for the next Mississippi Antique Showcase.
listening to Sit Down right here on MPB Think Radio. I'm your host, Russ Latino, talking today with State Senator John Horhn, fresh off of a big victory in the Democratic runoff for Jackson mayor. I know you were up late last night. I know you're probably tired as all this starts to sink into you and you prepare for next steps. I did WJTV last night covering the election, and one of my questions that I got in my response was around the fact that I've watched you in the legislature for a number of years. You quite clearly are a principled Democrat. You operate with that set of beliefs. Mm-hmm. It's not always my set of beliefs. We've disagreed on things. But I have always felt like you're approachable. Like I've always felt like you'll listen to folks and want to serve everybody. And that was the sense that I got out of this election, was that you had all demographics, black, white, Republican, Democrat, kind of saying, hey, it's time for change, and we think this guy's a steady hand. You had a message last night that was very similar to that, right? You were talking about the need to unify the city.
Yeah, well, there's probably the greatest Achilles heel that Jackson has is mistrust. Blacks don't trust whites. Whites don't trust blacks. We tend to stay in our own silos and don't commingle, don't collaborate. I saw it quite up close and personal with all of the attacks that were pointed at me because I had some white support from Northeast Jackson. Oh, Northeast Jackson, they're going to take over. Well, the fact of the matter is that much of where Jackson is now, besides home ownership, is owned by members of the white community. And so it makes no sense to me not to have a relationship with the white business community when it comes to trying to bring and turn the city around. And so last night I felt that it was important to talk about unity. Jackson can go far if we unified ourselves, if we come together around common goals and objectives. And that's why I think that comprehensive plan is so important. I think that it gives us a roadmap. And, the old saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And that's kind of where Jackson is right now. We're wallowing in this abyss of not knowing where we are, who we are, and how we're going to improve ourselves. So it's very important that we try to come together and that we do so around our common interests. And Tip O'Neill, the former Speaker of the House, long-term Speaker of the House in the U.S. Congress, had this to say about that, and it's the most succinct thing that I've ever heard that makes sense to me. And he says, there are no permanent friends, there are no permanent enemies, only permanent issues. Excuse me, I'm blowing the quote. There are no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. And the interest is Jackson, in my opinion. Our common interest is making sure that Jackson survives and thrives. And I hope that an administration that we put together will focus on the interests that we have in common.
Obviously, you still have the June general. And I know you're going to play it to the end. I think most onlookers would say the historical trend is whoever wins the Democratic primary is going to be the next mayor of Jackson. You have a big runway, a long time to make sure you're ready to hit the ground running on day one. Mm-hmm. What does day one look like? And what does it look like, say, 6 months from being in office for you to say, hey, we're being successful? Right.
Well, right now, we're working on putting together that market value analysis and getting one of the top reinvestment firms in the country to partner with us toward that end. And that starts our laying the foundation for a comprehensive plan. Just last Thursday, I was able to secure a $2 million award to the City of Jackson's fire department for an early alert warning system for fire and emergency matters. And we got that, we started that process back in the summer. We thought it was going to be a legislative approach, but in discussions with Department of Finance and Administration, they suggested that we take the request to CCID, the Capital Complex Improvement District, and we were able to successfully present to them the need for this alert warning system. and it will not only serve the CCID area of Jackson, but the entire city. And it's those kinds of things that we're working towards. We have a workforce training center request in with the a group, Accelerate Mississippi, our workforce training guru agency. And we're trying to get, Hinds County is the only county that does not have a workforce training center located. So we're trying to get that done. Hopefully we'll get that done before the election. But going forward, so we're not resting on our laurels, and we're not just sitting still. We're trying to get the ball rolling right now.
So much of what happens in that first period in terms of who you hire, what the initial steps are going to dictate long-term success.
Yes.
And so, I think the entire city of Jackson, regardless of background at this point, is rooting for you, because I think everybody wants to see Jackson take its rightful place and reach its potential. And
you mentioned the first 100 days. The very first thing we got to do is begin the process of shoring up our public safety. The fire protection alert warning system is one example of that, but our police department needs to be beefed up with personnel, folks who are on the ground, as the cops who are on the streets. We need more equipment and training and technology. But the other thing we got to do is tackle blight as quickly as we can.
Senator John Horhn, thank you for coming in. I know we could do this for longer. I know you're tired, though. I hope you get some rest after what was a long night. So thanks for being here today.
Well, Russ, no rest for the weary, I can tell you that, but I appreciate the opportunity.
The Sit Down is a production of Mississippi Public Broadcasting Think Radio, funded by generous contributions from listeners like you. Today's show was produced by Jermaine Flood. Live stream production back there by maybe Abram Nanny. I don't know. My list doesn't say today. For my special guests, Senator John Horhn, I'm Russ Latino. Stay tuned for Southern Remedy right here at 11 a.m. and join us back here next week for a new episode of The Sit Down, only on MPB Think Radio.